Welcome, everybody, to our Thursday conversation about magic. Thank you for being here. I'm just going to open up my phone because if you don't know, the format that or the software that we're using is called StreamYard. And if you write a message in here and you haven't given StreamYard permission to know who you are, then I don't get to know who you are. That is a bummer. Hi, Leonie. Hi, Twy. But I have you here too. Welcome, welcome. Okay, so today, it's magic time. Yeah. Today I wanted to talk about this silly little thing called including the magic of you. Hi, everyone joining. Hello. So happy to have you here. So happy to be having this conversation. Hi, Maruna. Good evening. Good evening to you. So these Thursday conversations are really about just kind of talking about magic, playing with some access tools with magic. And if you guys have any questions that are popping in your world about this or something that we could play with here, please feel free to put them in because it's really fun to engage with you in this on these weekday lives. Hey, magical girl. Hello. I love your frame, Earth Wizards. Okay, so including the magic of you. This was kind of the conversation, and we just changed it 2 minutes ago because it was so up in my world where this reality is a lot about how do you be like someone else. So study someone else, have mentors. Say you want to change your wealth situation. So you're going to look out there and you're going to see who's doing this right. And then you're going to try to become that person or do what they do, right? So much of this reality is set up for us to look to others and to exclude ourselves and exclude the unique magic that we are from our life, from our world, from everything. So where have you been not including you? Where have you actually been excluding the magic of you in your life, in your creations, in your asks, everything that is, and everywhere you're doing that, will you just train and create it, please? Right and wrong, good and bad, POC and POD, all 9 shorts, boys and beyond. So for those of you either joining us now or who are going to watch us in the future, and if you just heard those words and you're like, those are weird, I've never heard that stuff before, that is the Access Consciousness Clearing Statement. You can go to www.theclearingstatement.com for more information on it. And it's just a set of magical words that we could use to clear out energies so that we can create something new. So Marina says, there's definitely more magic in my life since the new membership. Oh, thank you. Me as well. This new membership has amped up a lot. A lot of us are stepping up in different ways, and it's been so cool. Thanks, Twa, for posting that. And Marina says, how do you come up with these magical topics and questions? Well, sometimes people write in questions, and also I ask every well, it starts in the morning, usually the day. I try not to ask it too early because then I'll start to do the Facebook Live before I get there. But I ask as if by magic, the entity as if by magic, and magic itself and consciousness. Hey, what would you like to say today? What are you aware of? And I tap into all of you guys. So everyone that's going to join me and everyone that will be watching this in the future. And then I pull through that energy. And then usually something kind of fun pops up. And I'm like, oh, I'm really excited to talk about that. So including the magic of you. I recently started to re-listen to a 7-day event that I attended 6 years ago. It was my first time in beautiful Costa Rica. And it was called The Living Dream. And to be honest, it wasn't the title because at the time, my interesting point of view was living is not a dream. Living is really difficult. I was just going through my breakup with my husband, an 11-year relationship. So it was a very interesting class for me. And I just had this pull to listen to it again. And so as I'm listening to it, and I asked a lot of questions, one day in particular, I was at the mic a lot that day. It's kind of cute listening back to it and being like, wow, how tenacious I was, because I was determined to get the change that I knew was possible for me. And as I'm re-listening to it now, 6 years later, and the space of consciousness that I am, I'm able to receive it so differently. Receive the facilitation from Gary Douglas, the energy in the class, the possibilities that were shown to me with words and without words. And one thing that really kind of stuck out for me now is that there are places in my life where I'm taking myself out of the equation so dynamically because I didn't want to make it about me. So we've heard in Access, there's the kingdom of me and there's the kingdom of we. So if those people that can only see, or they'll only look at what's going to be gratifying for them in that moment, and completely excluding the world, completely excluding everything, consciousness, everyone that they're connected to, they're functioning from the kingdom of me. And then there's the kingdom of we. When you ask questions, it includes the earth, it includes the moon, the stars, the sun, it includes the animals, it includes your friendships, it includes your quote unquote enemies, it includes everything. So that's that space of those bigger questions where you can really start to perceive how your choice creates new realities. And because of something that had actually kind of stuck me as a kid, and I'm sure other lifetimes, has grown throughout my life and living, where I was in such judgment of those that made everything about them that I never wanted to make anything about me. But in that quest to not make anything about me, I actually started to exclude me and exclude my magic from a lot of things. And it's so cool the way consciousness works, because this is some stuff I've been changing kind of in different ways over the last, I would say, month. And this last piece coming in with this awareness kind of just brought it all together. Do you like my hand signals? This is sorry. Sign language energy for you guys. Oh, yeah, Joanne, I am so good. I hope you're well too. I can't wait. I'm heading to Regina so soon. Saskatchewan, I'll be in your territory. Marina says, thank you for the explanation. Love it. Okay, so I noticed in that I was only kind of partly including myself, but from a space of a judgment of me. And so when I started to look at this and look at where this was such a judgeable offense, like projected on me as a child, to have anything about me, to have the attention, I'm the middle child. The middle child's not supposed to get the attention. The baby gets the attention. And then the older, successful one gets the attention. And the middle child's job is to be quiet and make everyone peaceful. Any of you are middle childs, you know what I'm talking about. And if you're not a middle child, then you're probably arguing with me in your head, and that's okay. So it's just my interesting life. Doesn't have to mean that it's true for you. So this was really ingrained in me, and it grew in me to make sure everything was about everyone else, which actually excludes me. If everything was about everyone, that would be the kingdom of we. So I was kind of trained we train a puppy dog, to where does it go to the bathroom? How does it ask for food? We train animals. Well, all of us have our own unique entrainments. So we've all been trained in different ways. So I was trained, I got praise when I would exclude myself. I got praise when I would put other people's needs above mine. I would get punishment when I didn't do that. And so I was entrained to believe that if I excluded myself, it would be greater for everyone except for me. And then the only joy that I got was from seeing everyone else's lives get greater. Does this read for any of you guys? Have any of you guys had something similar in your life? And it could be from childhood, it could be from a partner that you had, it could be in your work environment. And so in that entrainment, we learn how to get that positive reaction and how to get that negative reaction. And we're always looking for the positive, or we go into resistance and then we look for the negative. Hello, doctor. I'm so happy you're here. Hello, Alicia's arguing with me because she's the oldest. Okay, so if we let all of that go, if we actually were willing to let go of the positive and the negative, if we were willing to not look for that from anyone, if we were willing to let it go, that doesn't mean it won't show up, but willing to let go. Hi, Beth. Oh, I'm so happy you're here. Well, Leonie says I've been doing that a lot. So if you were willing to be wrong and willing to be right, but you were never looking for that, like you were never looking for that validation, that praise, that good job from anyone or anything, then you would have total freedom to choose from the full scope of awareness. Because if you're functioning from this of what I'm talking about, you can only choose from the awareness of what the people around you are deciding or judging is going to be good for them. And then you might, so here's your little bubble, right? And then you might go a little bit further because you're a humanoid and you have to go further. And then you can apply your own awareness to what you get. Okay, if I choose this, or if I be this, or if I do this, this will create more for them. But you're always on the outside of the bubble because you have to exclude yourself or you're selfish. You have to exclude yourself or you're wrong. You have to exclude yourself. 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 So all of the implants and explants and everything that is and everything holding that in place, will you all please distrain and create it? Right, wrong, good and bad, POC and POD, all 9 shorts, boys and meows. Of course you have, Leonie says. In fact, I've been looking at this today as well. Of course. We're so connected. Magical oneness. So let's look at that. So oneness includes everything and judges nothing. That is consciousness, that is oneness. So we talk about this ocean of oneness, where there's this ocean and you are all the water in the ocean, but at the same time, you are a drop that is in that water. Now, if you pull your drop out, which includes all your magic, your infinite awareness, your infinite perceiving, your infinite receiving, your infinite knowing, and then you choose from there, you're missing a huge piece. Missing a huge piece of what's possible and your exquisite magic that no one else can be. So by excluding you, you're actually diminishing your gift to the world, which is not what we're taught at all, right? This goes against the entrainment that we somewhere along the line we bought was real because of that continuous positive reinforcement, negative reinforcement. You actually create neural pathways that lead you, that keep directing you towards similar behaviors over and over and over and over again. So all the neural pathways that you have that lead you towards the exclusion of you, the exclusion of your magic, the exclusion of your awareness, your desires, and your requests. Will you distrain and create all that times a godzillion, please? Whew. Right, wrong, good and bad, POC and POD, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. Just give me a minute here. You might be wondering, why is she sitting here wiggling, her fingers not talking? This is part of my body's interaction with moving energy. There we go. There we go. Cool. So, so what if you included you with everything? And what if you were so bold and so willing to make it all about you? To actually have some things just be all about you. And not from, so here's the thing, is that often when we want to change something, we're like, this changes, and then we go into a fight, or we go into a resistance of something, and then we have to fight it or overcome it. But what that actually does is it deeply reinforces what's already there, and then you have to be in a constant state of fight to have any sense of freedom from it. What you want to do instead is to clear out the alignment and the agreement. So here you are coping, right? So we're all of us that I get it, I've done this is me. Okay, we're all coping. So we're coping with this entrainment in our world, and we cope in different ways. Some of us get really, really sick. So that this is what I used to do. I was a very sick kid, actually, so that I could just have some space for me. Like, I would get very sick so that I became important, and that I could take care of myself. Or sometimes I would get, attention from my mom or my sisters. Okay. So some of us get really sick just so that we can take care of ourselves. That's the only way to include us. That's the coping mechanism. Other people injure themselves. I know people that hurt themselves all the time. And then it just creates this new thing of where they get to include them in some way. Some small way they get to include themselves, because it's the only way that it's acceptable, right? Other people, they get their heart broken or whatever. We have these coping mechanisms. So all the coping mechanisms that you have in place, Alicia says, fuck that piece. Yeah. So all the coping mechanisms that you have in place to allow you to have a small piece of an inclusion of you, because that's all you're going to get, and that's the only way to do it. Will you just train and create all that, please? Right and wrong, good and bad, POC and POD, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. Okay, so we have this coping mechanism. And then if you let go of the coping mechanism, then often where we're sitting here is the resistance and reaction piece. So you're like, I'm not going to choose this anymore. I'm going to include me. And most people that I work with, when they're doing that, when they're like, I'm including me, it actually excludes the whole world. And it excludes consciousness, and it excludes all the things that would actually massively contribute to you, but you're in resistance and reaction to this. It's not about you. It's all, and like just that fight, right? You've probably seen this with kids, and adults do this too, but just a little more silently sometimes. Or they fight for the attention. So if someone else is getting some attention, they'll like nab it and snatch it. No, this is all about me. I'm going to make it about me somehow. Okay, so now when you let go of that resistance and reaction, now we're at this part. We're at this part where somewhere you align and agreed. Somewhere you align and agreed that it's not okay for it to be about you. Somewhere you aligned and agreed that it was wrong for it to be about you, that you were selfish, that you weren't worthy of it, and all the other things coming up for you. Somewhere you agreed to this. You aligned and agreed to it, because you can't resist and react to anything unless you've already aligned and agreed to it. And you wouldn't create coping mechanisms if you hadn't already aligned and agreed to it. So now we're here. Now we're going to actually melt this piece. You're going to melt this out of your world. You're going to melt everything you align and agreed with, all the lies that you weren't valuable enough, that it was wrong, that it was judgeable. And what's so interesting is to hold this in place is that you actually will find yourself judging other people that make everything all about them, or separating from other people that make it all about them, because that helps to keep this in place, to make sure you will never make it all about you. So everywhere you aligned and agreed, or resist and reacted to any and all of these lies, will you just reign and create it, please? Right and wrong, good and bad, POC and POD, all 9 shorts, boys and beyond. Yes, Dr. Aiton, let's melt it all. Beth says, wow, all about me. Would so love to have that. I don't even know if I've ever experienced that. Every time I try, the guilt sets in. Exactly. And where, like, that guilt. Look at that guilt for a minute. So is that guilt true and real? What if consciousness would like it to be all about you? And all about you actually includes the whole ocean, because you are the whole ocean. So to include all of you and to be all about you would have to include the whole ocean of oneness, which includes everything. When you try and make it never about you, you're excluding you from the computation, and that is not kingdom of we. Leonie says, I always thought I was trying to fit in. Thanks to this video, I get that I was trying to get praise and not be wrong. Change it now. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, and then, so where have you also, with this entrainment, notice where other people would get the praise when it was all about them, which just deepen those pathways of your innate wrongness. Oh, so everything that is times of God's only way to train and create it, please. Right, wrong, good and bad, POC and POD, all 9 shorts, boys and beyonds. What if you're not wrong? What if you're actually the magic that is being asked for? What if including your magic, the inclusion of your magic, is actually the thing that's going to rapidly catalyze the change that the earth and the world and consciousness is asking for? Yeah. So we talk like catalyst, right? There's chemistry, and you'll have different, please forgive me, because I don't really know that much about chemistry, but I do know you can have these different little things, and they're these cute little chemistry like styles, and then you pour them together, and sometimes you need an agent, okay, that will catalyze the change. There's these two things, and they're sitting in here together, but they need something to catalyze, okay? So you have these things together. Maybe you asked for something, you know, so here's consciousness asking for something, and here's you asking for something, but you're not actually adding yourself as that catalyst to actualize what you're asking for. And you're wondering why everything's so slow. And you're wondering why you're only getting some of what you ask, but not all of what you ask, or kind of what you ask for, but not totally what you ask for, because you're excluding yourself, and you're excluding your magic, which is the agent required for the change, for the request. It's actually you. It's true. I tried it. That says you hit a hot spot for me with other people making it all about them and getting the praise. Yeah, and what if that was just part of the entrainment? It Okay, right, wrong, good and bad, POC and POD, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. And if we didn't make that wrong, right? So we maybe get fired up. Maybe we have some distractor implants coming up. All the distractor implants of all this. Let's just try and create it. Right, wrong, good and bad, POC and POD, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. Thank you, Leonie. The chemistry thing makes sense. Good. It's like, oh dear. So that where we, but then we try and do that and we get the negative enforcement, right? So we see someone getting all this praise and they're making it all about them, and you're like, what is happening? And it's frustrating. And then you go to do that, but because here's the thing, because you already aligned and agreed that it's not okay for you to do that, when you do that, you have to then, by the laws of the universe, by the laws of you, be punished for it. Because you over here aligned and agreed. It is not okay for you to make everything about you. You have made that a part of your reality. You have agreed to something and acknowledged the wrongness of you, which puts it into the fabric of your very reality. So then when you go to do the thing that is wrong, you have to then, by the laws of your universe, be punished for it to maintain what you have aligned and agreed with. So then you can never achieve what you see others doing. And what we go to is, oh, yes, this is validating the wrongness that I know that I am. Oh, this is validating that they deserve this praise. They deserve it to be all about them, not me, because of this thing I aligned and agreed with over here. And you'll create your life to deepen those pathways, those entrainments. And you will have a lifetime full of examples where you can prove in a moment why it's not okay for it to be all about you, because this happens and this happens and this happens and this happens. And every time you've done it and every time you've tried, this is what happens in some form or another. But what you might not be acknowledging is that the happening of it is the creation of your reality, because you have constructed it as such. So if you can let go of this piece, this alignment and agreement, if you're truly willing to let go of all the judgment, let go of everything holding it in place, let go of all the lies, all the confusion, everything there, and have this total space of wonder, your reality can now alter. And you can start to acknowledge, what if there's a greatness when it's all about you? What if there's a greatness when your magic is included in the computation? Your asks are included in the computation. Your world is included in the computation. Look at the 20 closest people to you. Okay? Do you have asks that are greater than some of them are able to ask for yet? I'm going to guess there's some yeses there. Now, if that's true, but you're making their asks more relevant and more required to be matched than yours or met than yours, then you have to exclude your requests out here. So you can be that good little girl, that good little boy, that good little human. Right, wrong, good and bad, POC and POD, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. And what if what they're asking for is not going to be the catalyst of change that what you are asking for? So you're actually making other people's smaller asks more important than your asks, because it has to be all about them. And then if you're a good little human and it's all about them, which is totally not how humans function, But if you're a good little person and it's all about them, then you get small rewards. And that's part of that entrainment, right? You get those little rewards. Like every time the dog does something good, you get a little treat. Oh, there's your little reward. You never get the fullness of what you're asking for, because the fullness of what you're asking for requires your magic and you're excluding it. Okay, Twila says, what if it was the opposite? Like childhood, I did create my life to be all about me, but at some point in early adulthood, I made myself wrong, so I stopped it, made myself hidden and not important. Yeah, so whose lies and what lies did you buy, or where did you decide, or where were you told that someone else was right, that made it never about themselves? Maybe you loved someone dearly and they made it all about everyone else, and you thought, well, they're great, maybe I'll start doing that. So then you altered yourself, and you got to look at, so before that point, and if anyone else, this might be true for them, maybe they used to make it all about them, and then they got into a relationship and that person judged them, and then they were like, whoa, they're right, I'm so self-interested, or I'm so selfish. And then you change and you alter it. Ask yourself, do you get more now or less than when you made it about yourself? And here's the true question, because there's the difference, okay? There's making it all about you from kingdom of me, okay? Which means you're excluding everyone and everything else in the computation. There's making it all about you in the kingdom of we, which includes everything, which includes the whole world. But what that, and that's a totally different energy. So if you're making it all about you and excluding the world, then the world gets less. If you're making it all about you and including the world, then the world gets more. So everywhere you went to the other side of the coin to try and right the wrong that you bought that you were doing, would you just try and create all that? Right and wrong, good and bad, POC and POD, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. You know, and would you be willing to look at where were the times where you made it all about you and it actually created more, but no one could see it, so you never acknowledged it? So I for instance, I have two little kids. I've talked about them before, and sometimes my oldest will get very say we're going out somewhere, we're gonna go swimming, we're gonna go to the park, and he'll get very intense, and he will like, no, I'm not leaving, and it seems like he's making it all about him. Like it's like it doesn't matter what anyone else wants to do, it only matters what he wants to do. Then in the conversation, and as we start to ask questions, we actually become aware that there's something that's going to occur that actually applies to all of us, that none of us would desire to have in our lives. But he was willing to make it appear as though it was all about him in his connection to everyone, because he has no separation. He's an X-Men. He doesn't actually separate from any of us. So in that moment where it appears like there's this very self-interested kid that doesn't care about anyone else, it's actually when we went to ask the question, it was like, whoa, it actually created a lot more for everyone to not go. So I'd ask that for those of you that used to make it all about you, truth. Did you, when you were making it all about you, were you including everyone, but no one acknowledged it? And maybe you weren't. And maybe you actually were making it all about you and excluding everyone else. And then I would ask, who are you mimicking that from? And mimicry is a whole nother conversation, but if you let that go and you were able to look at this, making it all about you from this kingdom of we, what is possible? Because you know what? When you look at your reality and having your reality, your reality includes all of the world, right? So if you're here going, I want to have my reality, yet I'm going to exclude myself and I'm going to make it all about everyone else's needs, then your reality isn't even in the computation. Your reality actually gets made, constructed based on everyone else's needs and desires, which will never satisfy you, by the way. Now, if you continued that way, look at the planet and look at the government systems and look at the way things are going. Okay. So if you created the rest of your life from the exclusion of your magic, your knowing, your perceiving, your receiving, your being, if you created your life from everyone else is more important than you to make it never about you, then they get to decide the trajectory of the world. Whoever has the biggest need, they get to decide. Now, if you made it all about you, all about what you know, all about what you're asking for, all about what you're aware of, what you know, if you made it all about you and included the entirety of the ocean of oneness, then where could you lead the world? And if you tried to lead the world, if you have ever tried to lead the world while excluding you and excluding your knowing and excluding your magic, it is not easy. So what if you're willing to make it all about you from a true sense of oneness? I'm going to catch up in the chat here, and I think we're coming to an end. Leonie says, if someone says you make it about you, then that's a signal that you're doing the exact thing. Oh, absolutely. That's when they accuse you, right? And going up to 12's question. So at some point she made herself wrong. Well, I know that someone used to accuse her of being selfish all the time because I grew up with her. And people accuse you only of what they're doing, and they do it to control you. So if you have a dynamic capacity to get everything that you want, everything with ease, you know those people. You've seen them. Maybe you're one of them. People that aren't stepping into that aren't willing to have that, will make you wrong in hopes that somehow they get more, which isn't true. They don't actually get more if you get less. That's the lie. It's ever you bought that others were going to get more if you got less. Others were going to get the spotlight if you made sure you took yourself out of the spotlight. That read, wow. Will you just train and create that, please? Right and wrong, good and bad, puck and pot, all names, shorts, boys, and meows. It did make their ask bigger because I knew that I'm stronger. Yeah, Leonie, and what if we stopped proving that we're stronger, and we stopped excluding us because we can and we can survive? Aren't you guys done with that? It's like, if you want to thrive in this world, if you want to stop surviving, you actually have to include you. If you'd like to thrive, the inclusion of you is imperative. And now's the time for us magical people to be thriving here on planet Earth. I think we should do a whole thing on surviving and thriving. Thank you so much for this conversation. Everything applied to me, let's change it. We got some abso-fucking-lutely's. Grateful. New spaces opened up. Yay. This conversation makes me recall things on how I was brought up and imprinted. I recall a phrase for when you were having guests. Don't get too dressed up. You should let the guests shine. Whoa, Johanna. You should let the guests shine. You should let the guests shine. You should let the guests shine. All the implants and explants and everything underneath. Let's just train and create it, right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all nature, it's boys and beyonds. And it's like, let the guests shine and let the quiet shine. Let the shy shine, so do you guys get to let someone else shine, to let something to be all about them when they're not creating it themselves? You have to diminish yourself greatly, because you're all these like amazing shining stars. You just are it. You walk into the world. My oldest kid is not so much like this right now, but he used to walk into a room and like it was like energy went everyone would like snap their heads and look at him. It was just the energy pull that he is. That's just who he is. And he would light up the room. And when he'd talk, like everyone would just be like, wow, like blah, 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 blah. And that's just who he is. And then I have my youngest kid who's like, he's a lot quieter. Now, if I tried to get my oldest kid to like, hey, no, let's let him have the spotlight. Let's let him shine. So my oldest kid would have to get under him. He would have to get smaller. He would have to dim his light so that he wasn't so bright. So everywhere you have dimmed your light so someone else could shine, to make sure it was not about you, will you just train and create that, please? Right, wrong, good and bad, POC and POD, all night shorts, boys and meons. What if instead you invited them up to the stage with you and you said, hey, this spotlight is big enough for a whole fucking crew of wizards. Let's go. No more excluding you. Because the exclusion of you, and I know you've been entrained. I know, I get it. We're clearing that out. But the exclusion of, what if the exclusion of you is never the gift? What if the exclusion of you is never the gift of you? And you have bought that and you've been entrained to that, and I get it. And we can change that and we can let that go. It is a lie. It was used to control you. That's okay. Cool. Awareness. Ding, ding, ding. New choice today. New way of being today. If you truly acknowledge that the exclusion of you was never the greatness of you, was never the gift of you, it was the opposite. And it was just an entrainment. And you're going to melt that out of your reality. So in your new non-reality reality, as you're creating this new space, you start to acknowledge all the places when you include you and when you make it about you. Acknowledge how things start to get bigger, what starts to open up. And the more you acknowledge that, the more your reality will be crafted from that. And then what will be delivered to you over and over and over is the opposite of what you've experienced since now. And something probably so undefinable. Thank you, guys. Beth says, my brother was the favorite no matter what I learned, no matter what, I wasn't given the acknowledgement and recognition. Yeah, how many of us have had that? Whether it was a sibling, the star sibling, it could be the star sibling, or sometimes it was the sibling that had all the problems that became the star, Sometimes it's just the genders. Like in some cultures, it's if you're male, you're better. It just is. And what if we could observe it? Oh, wow. This is where these people are functioning from. But don't buy it as true and real, because that's when it affects you. What if it was never real and true? Yeah. So then what if, Beth, what if you could be your favorite? What if your consciousness is favorite, or magic's favorite? What if for today you could make something all about you? Just make something all about you. And then tomorrow choose another thing that's all about you, and the next day, and break that entrainment. And don't buy any of the lies that come up when you make it all about you, because it can be weird for the people that are around you that are used to you behaving a certain way. don't buy that as real and true either. Well, thank you guys. Thank you for being here. What a phenomenal conversation. You guys are amazing, and I'm massively grateful. Please join us next week, I think. Oh no, I'm traveling next week. We might have another time in. Am I traveling next week? No, I'm traveling the week after. Sorry, I'll be here next week, right, producer? She's in the show box here, and I'm like, help me out. So, yeah, cool. So, I will see you guys next Thursday. And yeah, what conversations can we have? Maybe it's survival, maybe it's thrival, whatever's in your world. Write in if you have questions. You can write into the. Thanks, Jackie. She's there too because I'm going to Regina, Saskatchewan. You're my favorite magical Cassy. Oh, Veruda, I love you so much. Come to Turkey. Yes, yes, I would love to come to Turkey. Let's do it. Yeah, let's have these magical conversations all around the world. All right, thanks, guys. We'll see you next Thursday. Talk to you later. Bye.